Hey guys, it's time for the weekly review of PCS4. Highlights!
Hello out there to all the viewers.
Hi guys, Toby here. I cannot wait to get started and show you how EU has been going.
Hey everyone, I'm excited to be a part of the show today.
Yo, what's up guys? Paper Thin here from Asia.
Just last week, PCS4 finally got underway. 4 days of play, 4 regions, action around the world. It was non-stop, it was awesome, and we've gathered the best highlights brought to you by the casters from the regions to put up against each other and decide who had the best week. At the end, I have the enviable job, or maybe terrible depending on how you look at it, of picking the best highlight and making 3 casters very sad and 1 very, very happy. First up on the list, as well as first up in PCS4, is the APAC region. Xenox, what do you got for me?
Yeah, APAC's return to the PCS stage has been so exciting. Teams, of course, looking to navigate the new format. Some of them have adjusted well, others have taken a little bit of time to get going. If we go and have a look at the standings, of course, for these teams. Now, you will notice 2 familiar names at the very top of the standings. Fury and Buriram United, both taking 3 wins apiece over the first 2 days of action for PCS4 APAC. Now, 2 chicken dinners on day 1 apiece, and then they both picked up a win as well on day number 2, which made things a little bit harder to predict going into the final few games as to who was going to come away with first place. However, though, Fury, of course, they were able to get the kill differential that saw them knock out their rivals Buriram down into that second position. Day Trade is, of course, a team that is number 1 in the pick'ems. We'll be seeing if they can meet their fan expectations in week 2. Okay, we're going to go and have a look at some of the highlights now, right? This is all of the best moments over the first week of PCS4 APAC. Not a surprise to see Fury amongst the highlights already. Their usage of their frag grenades is above all else the best in the region. You can see Colony under fire here from Fury as they were pushing in. This was match 5 of day 1. They ended up with a 14-kill chicken dinner. 7 kills with nades as well, even some Molotovs thrown in to get those eliminations, and Fury is pretty much unmatched when it comes to their ability to use their utility in the APAC region. They are, of course, a team that is already considered the best in the region, but then you throw in the nades and there is no one better. Team number 1 was another team that came to the demise of Fury as they were pushing through Erangel slowly in this 5th match. So let's go and have a look at the second highlight here, of course. This is going to be Buriram United's massive 19-kill chicken dinner over on Miramar. This was on day 2, match number 10. This got them back into the contention to be able to dethrone Fury. With 2 games to go, this got them from a position where they didn't look likely to get first, and then with 2 games to go, suddenly the pressure was right back on to Fury. They were behind. Fury had the 3 chicken dinners, Buriram only had the 2. They were desperate, and you could see it in their play. Pushed into a nice compound that teams tried to crash. Of course, the APAC region, as ever, always, they like to push on to compound buildings, and Buriram punished them nicely towards the end. Nordra, pushing up this hill, was able to catch off guard Team Bliss. Rain and Textile were over towards the left-hand side, close to Nordra, but unfortunately did not see him coming. As he pushes up, he got information on both of the players. He was able to get the first knock onto Textile rather easily. Took a bit of time with Rain, but afterwards got the knock, and that basically opened up the game for Buriram. Remembering they only had the 3 players to the 4 players of Team Bliss. And a really solid ending here as well for Buriram as they pushed up the hill. It still wasn't easy. Team Bliss had a bit of a high ground. They still had 2 players up. Monty, of course, he was a player that was very, very solid for Team Bliss, and Bryn was still alive. And at the end here for Bryn, now this is a Buriram highlight reel, of course. They got a 19-kill win, but Bryn almost spoiled the party as he had a 1 versus 3 opportunity. All 3 members of Buriram ran past Bryn. He was able to get a nice, quick, clean knock on the first player. They didn't quite have full information. He gets back up, and now it's only a 1 versus 2. The immediate headshot, the spray onto Nordra as he's still throwing that grenade, and he's able to capitalize. Well, that's the APAC region, Toffees, and what it can show for in terms of the highlights. What were your thoughts for the APAC region?
Well, I'll say this for you. You have a lot of confidence, and I'll be honest, that bury round play was pretty amazing. But let's take a look at our next group. That is the Americas highlights. Porosaurus, I know that we had some newcomers to the scene, some new sub-regions put together. I can't wait to see what you got for me.
You know, it's obvious we did have a lot of newcomers, but we also have one of the most stacked lobbies in the world, as everybody knows from our performance at PGIS. Now, the question is, were those PGIS teams going to continue their high performance that they had all throughout this year so far? And were some of these newcomers going to come in and knock them off their perch? I don't know what I'll leave the decision up to you. The highlights we have, though, are great. Well, speaking of Toffees, to wrap up week 1 of America, Sonics took first place with 2 chicken dinners and 84 kills, a phenomenal amount of kills. Now, it wasn't easy. Day 1, we had 6 games, 6 different winners, and it wasn't until day 2 that we saw some teams starting to step up and go for that second win. Also having a team that decided to make a late day run despite having a pretty poor performance on day number 1. Now, relatively less experienced PCS teams were making up the majority of the lobby, so a lot of questions were there as that was going to make the more experienced teams have an easier go of things. Well, we can't for sure say that this is the tendency, and if it's going to kind of keep going into week number 2. But as I mentioned before, teams like Dodge and Oath also made a run for first place with Sonics. So week 2, there's going to be a lot of variables at play, and it's going to be very exciting. So this is that first fight that we saw Sonics take for the win. It was a very, very difficult fight, despite the fact that they had this nice ridgeline. It was a 4v3. Troglodytes used amazing utility work with the flashbangs to make this wrap around on the flank, get 2 quick downs. First the knock and the flush onto Tiggleton, then the trade onto Shrimsy, and it was looking really, really bad for Sonics, but there you go, the superhero H-Win stepping up big, coming in from the side where Troglodytes was not expecting them, saving the day for Sonics, turning it into a 2v1. They had 13 kills already, and that was going to be the last 3 to get 16 kills and the win. You know, we talked a lot about the individual brilliance of some of these players coming in huge. This time, is it going to be Relo or is it going to be Zraven? It was Oath, it was Wildcard. Oath had been having an amazing day, and this was the start of great things to come for them, as you had Wildcard pinning one player for Oath right against the wall. They knew exactly where he was. The smokes were down. You could see Relo throwing the Molotov to force Zray off of the rock and force him over to a little bit closer. And then the brilliantly timed peek, Relo gets the first kill, and then it turns into a phenomenal tactical 1v1 between 2 insanely talented players. Zray had the hard cover of the Dacia, Relo had the hard cover of the rock. You can see Relo will flush this guy out. No more information for Zray. Zray still holding his position, did take some damage, had to go for the heal, but had to pick the exact right moment to go for the heal. This is such a difficult thing for these players to figure out, because if you go for that heal, you leave yourself extremely exposed to getting pushed here. Relo decides not to go for the push. That means Zraven can get that, Zealot can get that heal off, and you can see Relo, he keeps peeking, making sure that Zealot doesn't push, and Zealot knows that. He would have loved to push, but he kept seeing Relo peek, so he couldn't make that push over the way. And then you go, again, a brilliant trade in damage. Relo comes again, peeks the left side after peeking the right. Amazing 1v1 tactical stuff to get Oath their first of 2 wins. That's obvious. You know you're not going to find highlights like these anywhere else in the world. This is America's only. I am sure our region will have the best highlight reel out of everybody. And don't you think so too, Toffees? That was amazing stuff. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Because we spend most of our time together, I know that you want me to agree, but I gotta be fair, Poro, so I'm gonna put it on the side burner, and I'll get back to you, because right now, we gotta go to our next region. That is PCS4 Asia, and I know, paper thin, you've got to have some good, amazing, aggressive PUBG to show us.
Oh, week 1 of Asia was fantastic. We had some great games, a lot of different teams winning chicken dinners, so top to bottom we're seeing some really high level PUBG. So once again, PCS4 Asia was dominated by the Chinese to start out with. They were doing great. Kaishin comes through with the win. A little bit surprising considering they had one of their star players, Cobra, not available for the event. Monguo comes in, steps up, is the MVP of the week even. They do great. Korean teams punch back. They had some really strong performances. And even the new rebuilt E36 came through with a win and some really close second place finishes. Yeah, so yeah, the previous regions, guys, were pretty good, but nothing compares to the best region, Asia. All right, so here, guys, we have an intense finish with Ghibli coming up over the hill. They smoke off 4AM, and they start getting in to MCG really hard. 2 knocks there quickly. Some grenades being thrown both ways. 4AM knows they have to do something about this. Some grenades splash into the back of Ghibli, doing some damage, and they almost get some knocks here, coming up just short. But then the follow-up from Lambu is huge. Takes 2 members of 4AM down. All of a sudden, 4AM is in a huge predicament. Ghibli recognizes that MCG is having a problem, and even though Ghibli is pinned behind this hill line, they're doing a great job with those initial smokes. Then they know that they have to finish off 4AM, so all attention over there. Even suffering a couple knocks, they're able to get the finish. Renba and Lambu doing some excellent work. MCG, yes, they are able to get these reses, but they're still now in a horrible position underneath this hill. Ghibli fans out, starts throwing their utility over the side. Grenades, stuns, shots, all get it done, and Ghibli takes the win. So 4AM has been a really aggressive team before this event and during, and you can see here why a big part of it is Forever. So here we have 4AM, who has been fragging out like crazy. They're catching MTech kind of in a divot and taking them down. Forever on the backside, make sure that Hansi is clear here. Some smokes to try to allow MTech to get the reses. Not really going to come through. GFY tries to take advantage of this and comes up to try to third-party this fight, but it's Forever. The god himself is doing such a good job just getting knock after knock after knock in here. Gets the finish onto Gyuya, and the mollies are in there as well, and you can see Forever so active with his feet, moving all over the place, and even though there's all these smokes, he has a pretty good idea where MTech is. Catches Heaven, peeking out a bit. More mollies doing it for Forever, and he is just storming through. That is an impressive performance. Forever is nuts. All right, so Toffee's my man. I mean, you've seen the Asia clips. I mean, you got to agree, they're the best, right?
Bold, Paper Thin. Very, very bold. But in all fairness, you got to see everything. So we'll get back to you, because right now it's time to check in with Toby over in Europe. Toby, I know you've got that methodical PUBG. You've got those big brain players. Let's see how it translates into big brain plays.
Oh, believe me, Toughies, week 1 was absolutely insane. Team went all in right from the start, and I cannot wait to show you all the amazing highlights, and I'm super ready to break it all down for you. So with the most chickens rule newly added, it was clear to see that teams had to spend a little time adapting to the format, but while they were doing that, a few other teams, including Virtus.pro, were going full on from the very start. And those teams that were playing it slow at the beginning, they quickly realized they had to start speeding things up. Virtus.pro up against Heroic. This time around, it's Heroic that we're focusing on. They know for a fact that they have the team that just won the other game in this exact position of Virtus.pro right over the hillside, and they cannot push into the circle before dealing with Virtus.pro first. So they throw all their utility, they push their way forward, Vasco comes up, finds the first, finds the second, and the molly from T-Bone gets down the last in the end. Now they have themselves a secured spot up towards the north side of the circle, allowing them for a push down towards the south into the fight going forward. Na'Vi plays a perfect endgame here. They maintain full control of the hillside, forcing teams like Skate to make the push inside the city by spreading out and taking control. And once they've kind of hurdled everyone down towards Novo, they can sit tight up on the hillside, they can spread out, they can take full control and shoot at everyone they please, because pretty much no one has the time right now to focus on Na'Vi miles up the hill. They need to focus on the teams that are next to them. And as you can see here, Aliyah, Quizzy, Melman, Example, they can all do pretty much whatever they want as long as they don't leave themselves overly exposed, which of course they don't. As the fight kind of comes to an end, what they do is they send 2 people down the hill, 2 players move further down towards the city to help pincer, to help force the opponents close to another, to still maintain and be able to avoid being in the near, like upfront confrontation themselves. They force the guys close to one another while the remaining 2 players sit up on the hill. Perfect sheep herding, force everyone into a corner. And, well, let the Nates and utility do the rest. Nate slopped on over, great shots coming in, and Na'Vi net themselves a 12-kill win. Well, Toffees, now you've seen all the big plays of Europe, or at least some of them, because there were a lot going on, and I don't know how this could not be the best clips that you've seen all week.
It's undeniable that they have keen decision-making skills in Europe, but I'm going to look at everything. And with Europe as the final region, we've looked at everyone's Week 1 highlights. And it's true, we cherry-picked a few, but production has forced me to take the role of picking number 1. And I'm going to have to do so, so I'm going to do it now, boys. Get ready. The winner of the Week 1 highlights is none other than PCS4 Asia's Ghibli. Okay, I'll tell you why. Why? Because you have to... Ghibli wipes 4 AM and MCG. Sandwiched between them, first they get 4 AM with grenades, and then, instead of healing, at half health, you gotta respect its up and adder as they go over the top and completely bury MCG 6 feet under. That's how you win a chicken dinner with your back against the wall. I think teams could learn from it. I think I could learn from it. And I think everyone has to respect it. Week 2 is about to begin, and you guys can look forward to how the teams will adapt from their Week 1 play and take everything they learned and apply it to Week 2. In those intense matches, we can look forward to, you guessed it, new highlights. So please stay tuned and watch Week 2 of the PCS Weekly Review, because we're going to be back, we're going to have more highlight action, and we're going to be even more judgmental. But before we go, my name's Toffees, and I want you to join me in one last rewatch of the highlight of the week. It is the Asian region's Ghibli wiping MCG and 4 AM to win the chicken dinner.